Okay, so today our lesson is on multiplying polynomials, and I have a little example here, just showing you how we would distribute, right? So we should know how to distribute a single term to some type of binomial, or maybe even a trinomial inside those parentheses. So 3 times 2 would be 3 times 2x would be 6x, and 3 times 7 would be 21, and then you would have your final expression. Well, now we're going to start talking about multiplying not a monomial to a binomial, but maybe multiplying 2 binomials together, or a binomial and a trinomial, or things like that. So essentially, to multiply 2 binomials, you would apply the distributive property twice. So for example, if we have this example here, a plus b times c plus d. So you would take that first term, which is a, and you would distribute that to both a and d. So that would give you ac plus ad. Then you would take your second term, which is the b here, and you would distribute that. So you would have plus bc plus bd. Okay, now once you're done with that, if there's any like terms, you would want to combine them. And that happens a lot more frequently when you're actually using real numbers. So let's take a look at the first example. So my first thing that I'm going to distribute here is the x. So I'm going to distribute the x to the x and the minus 7 in the second parenthesis. So I'm going to distribute my x to this binomial here. Now, as a reminder from the last chapter, all those exponent rules. When you multiply an x to another x, you have to add those exponents, and you're actually going to get x squared. So x times x will give you x squared. And then when you multiply a variable to a number, so x times -7, that's just -7x. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to multiply the second. We're going to distribute the second time. Now, when I distribute the second time, rather than continuing out one long line of terms, I like to stack like terms underneath each other so they're already ready to combine if necessary. So when I multiply 8 times x, since this is also an x term, I'm going to write it underneath, 8x. And then 8 times 7, or -7 technically, is just going to be -56. Now, because I stack them like that, so as I do each distribution, I write another row, it helps me keep it a little bit organized. And now I have to combine like terms. So I'm going to have to combine these two x terms here. And because I stacked it in this manner, they're already set up for me to kind of combine. So I have my x squared, then -7x plus 8x is just positive 1x. And then I have that -56 at the end. So this quadratic trinomial would be my answer to, or the product of those two binomials. So let's try again. So here I'm going to take my 2x and I'm going to distribute it to the 5x and also to the 1. So 2x times 5x will give me 10x squared. So 5 times 2 is 10, but x times x is x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the second term. I'm going to distribute my second time now. So 3 times 5x is 15x, and 3 times 1 is 3. And now the only thing I've left to do is combine my like terms. These two here just are single x terms, so I can combine those easily. So I have 10x squared plus 17x plus 3. Now, you might have heard of something before called the FOIL method. And what the FOIL method is really just an acronym to remember the 4 steps in multiplying 2 binomials. So if you're pretty good with distributing, you don't really need to think about FOIL method, but at least you're familiar with the term, because a lot of teachers or people might refer to, oh, just FOIL it. Anytime you have to multiply 2 binomials, we often use that word a lot as teachers. So the F here stands for first. And what that means is you're going to multiply the first term in each parenthesis together. So I would multiply by my 3x and my 2x, and that would get me 6x squared. Then the O in the word FOIL stands for outer or outside. And what that means is if you look at here, you have two parentheses. Yes, they're all inside the parentheses, but which two terms are the outermost terms? So the ones on the edges. So that would be this 3x here and the negative 6. So then you would multiply those, and that's the O. So 3x times negative 6 would be negative 18x. Now for the I, that would be inner or the inside-most terms. And in this case, that would be these two right here, the 4 and the 2x, and that would give me positive 8x. And then finally, you would have the last terms, and what that means is it's the last term in each parenthesis. So the 4 and the negative 6, which would give you negative 24. And then same thing, you just combine your like terms. So we have 6x squared, negative 18 and positive 8 would give you negative 10x, and then minus 24. So you can see it's the same thing as just distributing twice. You distribute your first term to both numbers in the second parenthesis, then you distribute your second term to both terms in the second parenthesis. And FOIL is just a way to remember those 4 steps. So go ahead and try these. You might want to pause and try and then make sure when you turn the video on again that you got the answers correct. So I'm going to start out by distributing my 5x to both of the terms in the second parenthesis. So 5x times x would be 5x squared. And 5x times negative 2 is negative 10. And there's a single x on there. Then I'm going to take my second term, which is the 3, and I'm going to distribute that to the x and the negative 2. So 3 times x is positive 3x, and 3 times negative 2 would be negative 6. And then I would finish up the problem. So I'm going to combine my two like terms in the middle. So I have 5x squared minus 7x minus 6. And that would be my answer. All right, taking a look at this next one here, I'm going to distribute the 4x to both the 3x and the 2. So 4x times 3x will give me 12x squared. And 4x times 2 will be positive 8x. Then I'm going to distribute the second term, which is this negative 1. Negative 1 times 3x will be negative 3x, and negative 1 times 2 would be negative 2. And now I'm going to combine any like terms. So these two in the middle are both single x's. So I'm going to have 12x squared plus 5x minus 2. Okay, so here we have a couple problems just to show you that the distributive method and the FOIL method are really the same thing. So if I were to distribute, right, and I'm distributing my 3x to each of these, I get 3x squared minus 9x. Then I distribute the 4 to the x and the negative 3, so I get plus 4x minus 12. When I combine all of these, I have 3x squared minus 5x minus 12. Now, if I were to use the, quote, FOIL method, and I were to do the first, so 3x times x is 3x squared. Then I'm going to do the outside or outer, so 3x times the negative 3, that's negative 3x. Then I'm going to do the inside, so 4 times x. And then I'm going to do the last, which is 4 and the negative 3. Now notice, other than the fact that my colors are different, it's really not a different answer. So when I combine my like terms, again, I still have 3x squared minus 5x minus 12. So whether you are, quote, FOILing or just, I call it double distributing, you're going to get the same answer. It's really the same process. FOIL's just a way for you to remember the steps if you want to use that. Okay, so the next problem I'm not going to do twice. We can just do it one time. Whichever way you want to work through it is totally fine. You're going to get the same answer if you do it correctly. So 2x times 3x will give me 6x squared. Remember, you're adding those exponents. 2x times negative 5 would be negative 10x. Then I'm going to do the second distribution here. So I get negative 3x and then plus 5. So this gives me 6x squared minus 13x plus 5. All right, so a few more practice problems here. So here I'm going to distribute my y first. So I end up with y squared minus 3y. Then I'm going to distribute this negative 2. So I'm going to get negative 2y plus 6 because the two negatives multiply together to get a positive. And then I combine like terms. So y squared minus 5y plus 6. Okay, and I'm just doing it whatever way you would like to do it. There's no method that you need to do. So here 3a times 2a would be 6a squared. 3a times negative 1 would be negative 3a. Then I'm going to distribute the 2. So 2 times 2a is positive 4a, and 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then we're going to combine any like terms. In this particular problem, we have these two like terms in the middle, which gives us positive 1a. So that is our answer. All right, we have two more binomials here. So 4a times 2a would be 8a squared, and 4a times negative 3 would be negative 12a. Then going on to the second number to distribute, the 5. 5 times 2a would be positive 10a, and 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. And then we would put that together to get our answer. We have 8a squared. The two like terms in the middle combine to give me negative 2a. And then I have negative 15 at the end. All right, distributing this 2x. 2x times x is 2x squared, and 2x times 8 would be 16x. And then we distribute this negative 2. We get negative 2x and then negative 16. And we just have to combine to get the like terms. So 2x squared, then 16 minus 2 would be 14x, and then we have that minus 16 at the end. Okay, so far we've only worked with binomials, but sometimes you will have larger polynomials, like maybe a trinomial, or maybe just a 4 or 5 term polynomial. So the process is still the same thing. You're just using that distributive property as many times as you need to get everything in the first set of parentheses multiplied to everything in the second set. Then you combine like terms. So, for example, this first parenthesis here actually has 3 terms. So I'm going to distribute 3 times. So first, I'm going to do negative 1. This is really a negative 1, x squared times x. So that's going to give me negative 1 x to the third. Then I'm going to distribute that to the negative 2. So the negative times the negative gives me a positive 2, and it's an x squared. Okay, so now I need to distribute this next term, which happens to be this 3x. So 3x times x will give me 3x squared. So I'll line it up underneath my other x squared. And then 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x. And then finally, this 5 here, 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Now notice each thing I distributed, I purposely did them in different colors so you guys kind of keep track of what I was doing there. But I always stacked like whatever answers I got from the next step underneath any like terms. So when I got the 3x squared, I put it under my 2x squared. When I got the 5x, I put it under the negative 6x. Because now when I go to combine these like terms, they're already set up for me. So I have negative x cubed plus 5x squared minus 1x minus 10. And then this would be the answer or the product of those two polynomials. Now, if you look at number 2, it's the same idea. We have a binomial and a trinomial, but this time I have the binomial first and the trinomial second. Now, you could distribute left to right or right to left. It shouldn't matter, but I always go left to right just because it's a habit. So when I go to do this one, I'm going to distribute the 2x, but I'm just going to distribute it to 3 different terms here. So 2x times 3x squared is 6x cubed. Remember, you have to add those exponents. 2x times negative x will be negative 2x squared. Again, adding those exponents on the x's. And then 2x times negative 4 would be negative 8x. So notice, because I multiplied to 3 things, I have 3 things here. So now, when I go to the 1, and I distribute the 1 to all 3, I'm going to go to my next level here, but I'm going to make sure I line them up under the like terms. So 1 times 3x squared is 3x squared. 1 times negative x is negative x. And 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. And then now I can add up my like terms. So I have these two here that I'm going to combine, and then I have these two here. So 6x cubed plus 1x squared minus 9x minus 4. All right, so we're just going to practice a couple more of this multiplying the binomial by the trinomial. So here I have a binomial first, so I'm going to distribute the binomial to the trinomial. I'm just going to go left to right regardless of how it's set up. So 3x times negative x squared will be negative 3x cubed. Make sure that an x squared times an x, you're adding those exponents. 3x times negative x is going to be negative 3x squared. Again, adding exponents. And 3x times 1 is just going to be 3x. Then if you are multiplying the second term here, which happens to be a negative 1, negative times a negative there is going to make that a positive x squared. Negative 1 times negative x is a positive x, and negative 1 times positive 1 is a negative 1. So combining, I have the x squares here that are like terms, and then I have my x's, which are like terms. So negative 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 4x minus 1. All right, next one, I'm just going to start out by distributing with this negative 2. Whoops. And I'm going to distribute to both my x and my negative 4. So negative 2x squared times x is negative 2x to the third. Negative 2x squared times negative 4 is positive 8, and then it's still just an x squared. So now I'm going to go to my second term, the 5x. I'm going to distribute that to both. 5x times x is 5x squared, and 5x times negative 4 is negative 20x. And then finally, let's see, the colors here. And then the 9 9 times x would be 9x, and 9 times negative 4 is negative 36. And of course, you want to now combine any like terms that you have. So in this case, I have my x squares, which are like terms, and I have my x's, which are like terms. Negative 2x to the third plus 13x squared minus 11x minus 36. All right, and we got 2 more of these. So just getting extra practice here. So I have this trinomial 4x squared. I'm distributing it there. 4x squared times 2x will be 8x cubed because we had to add those exponents. And 4x squared times 5 is 20x squared. Going to that next term, the negative 3x. Negative 3x times 2x is negative 6x squared. Don't forget to add those two exponents. And negative 3x times 5 would be negative 15x. And then the 2 times 2x would be 4x, and 2 times 5 would be 10. And again, you want to combine any like terms. So the 2 squares we have here, and then the 2 single x's we have here. So 8x cubed plus 14x squared minus 11x plus 10. All right, one more on this page. We got 3x squared. We're distributing to both the x and the 5. So 3x squared times x will be 3x cubed. And 3x squared times the 5 will be 15x squared. Then we're distributing this negative 4. So we're going to get negative 4x squared and negative 20x. And then we're distributing the 1, and we're just going to get 1x plus 5. So we have 3x cubed. Then we combine these two like terms here, giving us 11x squared. Negative 20 and a 1x is negative 19x, and then the plus 5. All right, so sometimes we use multiplying polynomials to get expressions for answers or apply them to different things. So this is an example of a geometry problem that you might see next year. Now we know the formula for a rectangle is the length times the width. So in this case, if I need to find an expression for my area, right, and I can do width times length equals area as well, I'm going to take my width and my length, and I'm going to multiply those together and simplify it as best I can, and that will be an expression to represent my area. So 2x times 5x is 10x squared. 2x times 6 would be 12x. 1 times 5x would be 5x, and 1 times 6 would be 6. And then if I combine my like terms, I get 10x squared plus 17x plus 6, and that is the expression for the area of that rectangle. Okay, for a triangle, if you remember the formula for a triangle, area equals half times the base times the height, or sometimes people do base times height divided by 2, whichever is fine. So I know that my base is this 10x plus 4, and I know my height is the 3x plus 1. So if I go ahead and put this in, I have 1/2 times my base, which is 10x plus 4, times my height, which is 3x plus 1. Now, if you remember back to your properties of algebra from way back, probably in middle school, when you multiply 3 things, it doesn't matter which 2 you multiply first. You just pick 2 and multiply them, and then that answer gets multiplied to the third item. So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply these 2 right here first. So I will do this part first, and then I'll multiply that answer to the 3x plus 1. So the reason I did this first is because I can distribute this 1/2 to 10x plus 4. So 1/2 of 10x would be 5x, and half of 4 is 2. So now I've already multiplied those two together, so I'm going to take that product, which is 5x plus 2, and I'm now going to multiply that to the 3x plus 1. So 5x times 3x is 15x squared plus 5x plus 6x plus 2. And that's going to give me 15x squared plus 11x plus 2. Okay. And our last example for these today, a cube. Now this is volume. Volume equals length times width times height, or you can put them in any order, really. So you're going to multiply the 4, the x plus 3, and the 2x plus 2. And it doesn't matter what order you want to do them in. So when I put these in, I like to put the single number first. And then I have x plus 3, and then 2x plus 2. So it doesn't matter what order as long as you're multiplying the 3 together. Now again, just like in the last example, I'm going to take 2 of them and I'm going to multiply that together first. So I have 4x plus 12. And now I'm going to take my 4x plus 12 and I'll multiply it to the 2x plus 2. So that will give me 8x squared plus 8x, plus 24x plus 24. And then, of course, I want to combine my like terms. So I have 8x squared. 8 and 24 is 32x plus 24. And, of course, this would be my volume.